Those stupid blood angels, they can't even ride their bikes properly. Time for an update on my terrain square corner. Nick speaking, and welcome to this video. Right, time for a terrain square corner update. And I've done a lot of work, so I've got loads to show you. First of all though, I really hope everyone who's entering the competition is having a good time building their pieces. And there's still time to get on board. I will put a link to the information video in the description below. Go and check that out. You've got until the 12th of April, although I'll probably extend it by a couple of days. So let's say the weekend after the 12th of April will be the ending date. And whilst you're down there in the links, don't forget to check out the sponsors of the competition. That's WarGames and Inside Out Terrain. So links to all of their social media sites and the WarGames website in the description. Check it out for me, please. Okay, so on to the pipes first. So as you know, I decided to go for Necron pipes. I wanted to change these Imperial pipes into Necron pipes. A, because I think it will suit my board quite well, and B, just to show Citadel, just to show Games Workshop that we want some Xenos terrain as well as Imperial. So how did I go about it? Well, I had a long think about it. I decided I definitely would cut off these top spikes here, and then also these sections here. I thought that if I painted the little skulls white, like my Necron skulls, I think they would probably work quite well. I wouldn't necessarily have to remove them. At first I was thinking I might have to remove them, but I reckon if I just paint them as if they were Necron skulls, they should look alright. And the little lights, obviously I'll paint in the green glowing sort of colours. And even this big sort of skeleton that's in here, I reckon if I just leave that metal and put a white face on, I think that will work. However, I did have a comment on my previous video where one of my subscribers suggested taking the rivets off of this piece of terrain, because he said Necrons wouldn't use rivets, they'd use living metal. And I got thinking about that, and I agree. So I decided to have a go at taking the rivets off. Now, to be fair, there are a lot of rivets on this piece of terrain, but once I started, I could instantly see the results. The results were good. I'm just about to show you those in a second. The only other thing to bear in mind is the aquillas. So when you see this, the work that I've done, the aquillas are only very roughly just taken off, because I plan to cover the aquillas, because these ones here were really, really difficult to totally remove. The ones that are just in the sort of middle of the pipe were okay to remove, but still not great. But like I said, I'm going to cover them all up, so bear that in mind when you see the pieces. Right, let's have a quick look then at the actual pipes. Right, there you go. So that is the pipes all cleaned up. So yeah, with the spikes off instantly, I think really, really helps the pieces. And then when I removed all of the rivets, again, I think that's really made them look a lot more Necron-ish as such. Removed the rivets around here. Like I said, I did the best I could. I cut them off with a knife. I tried filing them down. Hopefully when they're painted you won't see too much of the rivets, or if you can, it will just look like a bit of wear and tear as such. The only rivets that I didn't remove were these ones just on the edge here, because it looked really, really difficult and fiddly, and I don't think it would make too much difference. So yeah, the aquillas, like I said, I've just roughly removed them, and the idea will be to add some of these here onto where the aquillas were, and I think that will work really well. I'm just waiting for a delivery of these so that I could put them all on from my buddy Paul. So once they arrive, that's what I'm going to do there. And like I said, you know, these sections here, I originally thinking maybe I should just cover them up. Although yes, you do have this like spire window section. I think I'm going to get away with it, paint this like a Necron face, do the green glow, and I just think it will work quite nicely. Now I do have some old scarabs. I don't have a huge amount of these, but I have 5, and my plan will be to have these sort of going over the pipes. I might potentially have one coming out of a pipe as well. So my idea will be that these larger scarabs are sort of repairing the pipes and the damage that's obviously happened to this particular Necron feature, whatever you want to call it. I'm not quite sure what this stuff is, this like acidy type stuff that's going to be there. Maybe it's something to make the Gauze weapons. I think Scragguard came up with that idea. Seems quite plausible, so let's say it's a Gauze weapon refinery. How about that? Yeah, so that's those pieces. This one here caused me quite a lot of trouble because these sections here going along the top were quite big actually. These little pieces here, they don't look very big in this picture, but they were quite big. So I had to take them all down and file that down. It's coming on quite nicely. And then we have this piece. Now this is one of the hardest pieces to change into Necrons. I mean, that's the actual piece. You can see it's got these pillars which are very cities of death orientated. So I took those two big pillars off and I glued on these two stuffs here, which I think look pretty cool. On the other side I have blanked in this because there's an Aquila there, really difficult to get off, and it looked a bit silly covering it with this because it just wouldn't make sense. So I cut a piece of cardboard, glued that on, and I've glued a little spider head just to give it a little bit more detail. I might go in with some cardboard strips, maybe one at the top and bottom, just to help with the detail. The front here, I think this is the only section on the front where the skulls don't really work compared to where all the other skulls on the other pieces. So I'm thinking I might just put one of these scarabs on, just have like a scarab on this section here that will just cover up that sort of section. So I've been doing my best just to, as I said, change them up to Necron pieces. Just one little note on these till rolls. I had one comment saying that they just look a bit too thin. But if you compare it to this pipe, in actual fact it's bigger than that pipe section there. So I think having this pipe in between probably will work quite nicely. And of course I am going to detail this up again using these little cardboard strips. I'm probably going to have a cardboard strip going across the top like so, and then probably have them going around as well, so they'll have this like section going around. Just give them a bit more detail and to match them in with these sections. So that's the relay pipes. Now I just mentioned in the opening clip about dead stupid blood angels. Well, yeah, I've been making a blood angel bait. So I decided that rather than having a dead blood angel actually in this piece of terrain, now I've got dead blood angels on a lot of my pieces of terrain because obviously it's the theme of the board as I play against my buddies blood angels a lot. I've got nothing against blood angels, but it's just the theme of the board. But I thought rather than having like an actual dead marine in there, I'd maybe have like an abandoned bike. So the idea is going to be that a blood angel has been riding along the ridge of this piece of terrain, and he's very stupidly rode his bike into the pool, and he's had to abandon it in this acid pool. So this is going to be sort of half in the water effects, as if it's sort of just lied there. So hopefully half in, half out of the water effects. So far I've just base coated this and I've washed it. I haven't highlighted it because I haven't worked out exactly where I'm going to put it in the pool. Once I work out which side it's going to go and where it's going to go, I'll then go in and I'll just highlight the top area. I won't highlight the bottom because obviously that's going to be in the water effects. So yeah, that's looking pretty cool. Right, now on to the actual piece of terrain itself. Again, I've done loads of work on that, so let's have a quick look at that. Okay, so this is how the actual piece of terrain is looking. So from the last time you saw it, I've given it 2 coats of watered down PVA. I discovered that there was a little hole in it because that's dripped out of the bottom. So I filled the hole in with some polyfiller, and then I went over all of the exposed sections with the polyfiller. In particular, basically the pools here and the 3 pools there, and also all of the edges of the rock faces here with the polyfiller. I did some sort of riverbed effects using, believe it or not, a spoon. Hopefully, let's just see, I changed the exposure slightly so you can see that a bit better. There we go. So that's done with a spoon. Came out pretty well, I think. So that was that. And then, once that was fully dry, I went back in with another watered down PVA mix, but not quite as watered down. Just made that a little bit thicker because I really wanted to protect the edges here so they don't chip after they've been painted. Now as for the bike, I was thinking of imagining this here, the Blood Angel's like driving around here, and then he sort of very stupidly to go ah, and he has to jump off the bike. He cowers back to his unit, says, "Oh, I've lost my bike," and then I'd have the bike probably in that position. That's what I'm thinking, because up here you're going to have all the pipes coming in, and I don't think it would work quite so well, but I think going along this ledge would work quite well. So I was thinking about putting the bike there, but let me know what you think. And then once I'd done all that and it was all dry, I had to have a look at the back of this thing, because if I turn this round, obviously where it's made in 3 pieces, I have the 3 pieces here, and although yes, obviously if I just paint that black it probably would look okay, but I'm pretty fussy and I didn't like that. I wanted to finish that edge off, so I came up with the idea of getting some cardboard, some like mounting board, and maybe cut it to shape and have some flat mounting board there. Now where these were offcuts, this edge wasn't particularly flat, so I had to go back in with my bread knife and just file it down, or cut it down as flat as I could. I've then cut out some mounting board. Now I went for black. Now I know this is probably going to get a bit messy when I stick it on and stuff, and I'm going to be priming it anyway. But I'm going to be priming it black, so if it starts black it should be a bit easier to prime. And my idea is I am going to glue these pieces on like so. Got one for that edge, and of course got one for the other edge as well. So I'm going to glue that one on there, that one on there, and then once that's fully dry I'm then going to go back in with some polyfiller and I'm going to just go into the edges. Now this also helps me get rid of this, because I had this like missing bit. I didn't cut this out, this was already missing, and I didn't like that, so I wanted it to be like a proper corner. So once that's fully dry I'll go in with some polyfiller and stuff. Well, I'll probably put a little bit of foam in there first, and then a bit of polyfiller as well. And I think that will just finish off the outside edges quite nicely. So that's my next task on this. And to be fair, there's not much more to do. So once I've glued those sides down, tidied it up with some more polyfiller just on the edges here, and the only thing that will be left to do is put some sand on these flat areas, and then that will be ready for painting. I'm a little bit unsure about gluing on the pipes, whether to glue them on before I paint or after, because obviously they're going to be more awkward to paint when they're actually glued onto the piece. But then I don't want to glue the pipes onto the actual sand, so I might have to just leave an area with no sand on where I can glue the pipes on after they've been painted. I'll have to think about that, but yeah, that is how the piece is looking so far. So I'm really getting there now. Probably the next update that I do, I'm going to be ready to start painting this thing. So that is it for this video. A bit of a long one, but like I said, I've done a lot of work since the last time you saw it. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.